aliens, UFOs, and scary abductions. These are things that supposedly happen to people everywhere, from different countries. And I myself am not ruling it out, because I have seen the strange crafts in the sky as well. And I know they are not man-made, because not even a jet could zoom almost as fast as light. Okay, first off, early folklore and mythology. Stories of supernatural abductions are not new. Myths and legends from various cultures have tales of people being taken by gods, spirits, or otherworldly beings. These stories often served as cautionary tales or explained natural phenomena. Mid-20th century emergence. The modern concept of alien abductions began in the mid-20th century, with the rise of UFO sightings and the beginning of the space age. The idea of extraterrestrial life captured the public's imagination, especially after the famous Roswell incident in 1947. Books like John G. Fuller's The Interrupted Journey, 1966, which chronicles the Hill case, and Whitley Strieber's Communion, 1987, a personal account of alleged abductions, popularized the idea. Television shows, movies, and documentaries further embedded the concept into the cultural consciousness. The X-Files. This 1990s TV series significantly influenced public perception of alien abductions, blending government conspiracy theories with extraterrestrial encounters. The phenomenon of alien abduction has fascinated and terrified people for decades. One of the most infamous and terrifying cases is the story of Betty and Barney Hill, whose alleged abduction by extraterrestrial beings in 1961 remains one of the most detailed and studied accounts in UFO lore. Betty and Barney Hill were an ordinary couple living in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Betty was a social worker, and Barney worked for the U.S. Postal Service. They were known as upstanding members of their community, actively involved in the civil rights movement. On the night of September 19, 1961, their lives changed forever. The Hills were returning from a vacation in Canada, driving through the White Mountains of New Hampshire. It was late at night, around 10:30 p.m., when Betty first noticed a bright light in the sky. Initially, she thought it might be a falling star, but it moved erratically and grew larger as it approached. Intrigued and a bit unnerved, Betty asked Barney to stop the car so they could observe it better. Barney pulled over at a scenic picnic area, and they got out to take a closer look with binoculars. What they saw was a strange, craft-like object that seemed to be rotating. Barney, a former World War II vet and generally level-headed man, began to feel a sense of dread. He recalled feeling as if he was being watched, and a powerful urge to flee overtook him. Betty, however, was more curious than frightened, eager to understand what they were witnessing. As the object moved closer, Barney could see humanoid figures inside through binoculars. He described them as being dressed in black, shiny uniforms and having large, slanted eyes. Panic-stricken, Barney ran back to the car, shouting that they needed to leave immediately. They sped off, but the object continued to follow them. As they drove away, they heard a series of beeping or buzzing sounds, which seemed to resonate through their car. They both felt an odd, tingling sensation, and their memories became fragmented. The next thing they knew, they were about 35 miles further along their route, with no recollection of how they got there. When they finally arrived home at dawn, they realized that what should have been a 3-hour drive had taken 7 hours. In the days following the incident, the Hills experienced a range of physical and psychological symptoms. Betty had vivid dreams about the abduction, in which she recalled being taken aboard a strange craft and subjected to medical examinations by the humanoid beings. Barney developed severe anxiety and ulcers, along with an inexplicable fear of being watched. Desperate for answers, the Hills contacted a local UFO group, which suggested they undergo hypnosis to recover their memories. They were referred to Dr. Benjamin Simon, a well-respected psychiatrist and neurologist who specialized in hypnosis. Dr. Simon conducted a series of hypnotic regression sessions with the Hills over several months. Under hypnosis, both Betty and Barney provided detailed and consistent accounts of their abduction. According to their testimonies, after the buzzing sounds, their car was stopped, and they were approached by several beings who escorted them onto a large, disc-shaped craft. The beings communicated telepathically, assuring the Hills that no harm would come to them. The descriptions of the beings were consistent. They were about 5 feet tall, with grayish skin, large, bald heads, and slanted cat-like eyes. Betty and Barney were separated and taken to different examination rooms. Betty's account detailed a thorough medical examination, including skin, hair, and nail samples being taken. She also described a long needle being inserted into her navel, which caused excruciating pain until one of the beings waved a hand over her eyes, instantly alleviating it. Barney's recollection under hypnosis was equally vivid. He described being laid on a table and having a cup-like device placed over his genitals. The beings seemed to extract a sperm sample, though Barney couldn't remember how. Like Betty, he described feeling a deep sense of helplessness and fear, yet the beings' telepathic reassurances were oddly comforting. One of the most compelling pieces of evidence from Betty's hypnosis sessions was her description of a star map. She recalled seeing a 3-dimensional map in the examination room, which one of the beings referred to as a trade route map. Under hypnosis, she was able to draw this map, showing several stars connected by lines, representing trade routes, and other stars that were less connected. Years later, amateur astronomer Marjorie Fish studied Betty's map and matched it to a real star system, Zeta Reticuli, which is located about 39 light-years from Earth. Fish's analysis suggested that the beings might have come from this star system, adding a layer of credibility to the Hills story. When the Hills story became public in 1965, it caused a sensation. Their case was one of the first widely reported alien abduction stories and drew significant media attention. Skeptics and believers alike scrutinized their account. Some dismissed it as a hallucination or a fabrication, while others saw it as compelling evidence of extraterrestrial visitation. The Hills underwent numerous interviews and polygraph tests, which they passed, adding weight to their credibility. Their story was also investigated by civilian and military UFO researchers, including NICAP, National Investigations Committee on Aerial Phenomena, and Blue Book, the U.S. Air Force's UFO investigation program. The Hills abduction story had a profound impact on popular culture. It was the basis for the 1966 book, The Interrupted Journey, by John G. Fuller, and was later adapted into a television movie, The UFO Incident, in 1975. Their account helped shape the modern narrative of alien abduction, including common elements such as the examination by humanoid beings, telepathic communication, and missing time. Despite the Hills' detailed account and the consistency of their story, skeptics have offered alternative explanations. Some suggest that the experience was a combination of sleep deprivation, stress, and the influence of popular culture, as the Hills had recently seen the science fiction television show, The Outer Limits, which featured a character resembling their description of the aliens. Others point to the possibility of psychological phenomena, such as false memory syndrome or the influence of hypnosis itself, which can sometimes lead to confabulation, the creation of false memories. Whether one believes the Hills' account or not, their story remains one of the most compelling and detailed alien abduction cases in history. It has inspired countless other reports and has become a touchstone in the study of UFO phenomena. For Betty and Barney Hill, the experience was undeniably real and profoundly life-changing, leaving an indelible mark on their lives and the field of ufology.